This is the PL-89 Gematriatic Quantum Thought Calendar for the first day of the week, which in Israel, the first day is Sunday. They call it Yom Rishon. So it's for Yom Rishon, the 11th day of Mar Cheshvan, or 11th day of Cheshvan. And the Torah portion of this week is Vayera. And the Daf Yomi for today is Zevachim 48. Page number 48. And it is Sunday, November 2nd. And this Gematriatic Quantum Thought Calendar is a combination of the Hebrew and Gregorian calendars in one calendar. I've included the Islamic calendar as well. It's also the Julian calendar, which is 13 days behind. So if today is November 2nd, so it's like October 20th, around there. And so in this dispensation, it starts, November 1st started here. And if you were following along with these presentations every day, the first of Cheshvan was also over here. And so today we're on the second day of November, so it would be box 17. And I don't think I mentioned that today, but it's interesting that one of the rules of the PL-89 is that these two boxes, they're both different shades of purple. One's purple, one's like a violet or like a lavender or something. Violet maybe. And so the rule is that they can merge and become one box. So that let's just say you went through the presentation of the day, you calculated the numbers, and then only after did you realize something. Then the next day is still connected to this day. So that's helpful because today's Daf Yomi is 48. The second day of November was Zevachim 48. And in the rule of 40, this 8 is a 48. So it's interesting that in this rectangle, it matches the Daf Yomi. The Daf Yomi is part of this calendar as well. So it's like 4 different calendars. It's a Julian calendar, it's a Daf Yomi calendar, it's a Gregorian calendar, and it's a Hebrew calendar. And I've added the Islamic calendar just for comparison to the Hebrew, and any other calendar that would have a reason to add, it adds into it. So you're just keeping track of the different dates on different calendars within this one period of time, which is 90 days, which is based on a verse in the book of Exodus concerning the first leader/redeemer of Israel, Moses, of blessed memory, that his mother hid him for 90 days. It says, it doesn't say 90 days, it says 3 months, which is that amount of time. But Titzpeneu Shlosha Yerachim, she hid him for 3 months. And then she sent him on the river and in some type of, I guess, wicker basket or something. And that is the reason that this calendar is matched at that time. But there's other reasons why it's constructed this way. So just first to go over the days. Today is the second day of November, so it's in the second box. So it's in box 17. But the first box was 8. It's 8 plus 9 is 17. Plus 8 is 25. Plus 9 is 34. And then plus 8 would be 42, but it cuts off at 40. For the same theme of the 40. 40 is a big theme in this. The word Goel, Redeemer, is equal to 40 in regular Hebrew Gematria. And what's interesting about this, the particular format, the the way it's designed, the rows and the columns, the X and Y, is it's 8 times 10, so it's 80 boxes. And we know from the book of Exodus that Moses was 80 years old when he stood before Pharaoh. This is during the time of the Exodus story, when the redemption was beginning to happen. And so the idea is, as in the past, so in the future, it's like the redemption of Egypt sets a precedent for the final redemption. And that's the idea, that the Redeemer, Moses, was 80 years old, and there's 80 boxes here, and the chemical element mercury, the chemical element, not the planet, but it's spelled the same way. I don't know if they're connected or not. Maybe there's certain amounts of trace elements of mercury there. I don't know. But the periodic table of elements, mercury has an atomic number of 80, and this is based on the planet Mercury. So it's like you have a couple different things, right? So that are going together at once. If I say Mercury, what did I just say? Did I say the planet, or did I say the chemical number? So now I'm looking up online right now, and I say Mercury atomic number. It says the atomic number of mercury is 80. This means that a mercury atom has 80 protons in its nucleus. Okay? But what does that have to do with the planet called Mercury? Well, the planet Mercury, as data publishes, is that it has an orbit around the sun of 88 of our Earth days. It's 87.969, something like that. And so that is the time period. 88 is basically these 80 boxes, and then you might have heard about the 10-day twilight period under here. So Mercury, the planet, is going around. This was originally called the Mercury calendar, but because of its association with idolatry, with the pagan Mercury, I called it, I don't use that as much, but it was originally known as the Mercury thought calendar. I call it now sometimes by the Hebrew name Kochav Chama, and so it has that's 80. Mercury is corresponding to the atomic number, which is 80, and that's how old Moses was. And sometimes I do borrow from mythology only to explain ideas, like, for example, Mercury was the messenger of, it was the messenger, let's put it that way. And so Moses was a messenger. I'm not saying that Moses was Mercury. I'm just saying, I'm making comparisons that the numbers are matching up. Okay, so the chemical element atomic number is 80. Moses was 80 years old. Okay, and there's 80 boxes here that complete the basic majority of the thing, and there's 8 days here that connects you to planet Mercury, which circles the sun in 88 of our Earth days, which is almost how long Moses, when he was a baby, 80 years before this, he was a baby. 3 months is that 90 days, again, that amount of time, just about. He was hid for 3 months. So you see how it's all connected. And that's the point of this calendar, to connect ideas through matching numbers. But they have to make sense. They can't just be like arbitrary. And I mean, you can match any number, but it has to make sense. If I said a time period, 90 days, and then I said 88, that's pretty close to 90. You can see the connection. And then then we said that Moses was 80 years old, so it really is logical, because 80 is this the colored boxes, and then there's the visible, invisible 10-day twilight, which makes 90. So you see how it's going all in order. Plus, the chemical element, it's called mercury, same sound, mercury, and its atomic number is 80. So I don't think these are arbitrary. I don't think these are by chance. And that's what I base it on, stuff that's recognizable, that's known. Okay? And another interesting thing is that the chemical element, on the periodic table elements for mercury, the symbol is Hg. And that is an absolute fundamental principle in this calendar. H stands for Heb, which is Hebrew calendar, and G stands for Greg, which is Gregorian calendar. For years, I have been writing down my notation on the difference between the months as exactly like that. Heb Greg. Greg Heb, Heb Greg. And then I see that the symbol of Mercury is Hg. So that's even another connection, how Mercury is connected into this calendar. But anyway, the day of November 2nd is on box 17. It's 8/17. Okay? It's 8 plus 9, 8 plus 9, 8 plus 9. That's the thing, cut off at 40. For October, for November, for Cheshvan 11, it's box 13. So now is the point where we've got out of the woods in terms of the 10-day twilight period, right? And we're already now fully in this cycle, meaning both Hebrew and Gregorian are both in this thing. So November 2nd is right here, and Cheshvan 11 is right here. So it's 17 and 13. And the method of calculating is adding them together, which you get 30. And I was reading in the book of Enoch, very interesting, I think it's maybe the second book of Enoch, when he's taken up into the different heavens. It was actually a movie about a very interesting movie. And one of the heavens that he goes into, the angel is telling him about all the different divisions of time and how it all works. He's going through the rundown of how the whole reality works, about the sun and the movement of all the celestial bodies and the minutes and the time, and he's just explaining all things that I wouldn't even think of, and how the water moves and this and that, just amazing stuff. And in one of the explanations, he says to Enoch, to Hanoch, to Enoch, he says to him something to do with like 30 days and 30 days. It's like the moon's gate. The moon moves through these different gates in 30 days, and it's like in a different plane or something. But in our world, we also count a month like 30 days. From what I remember, I just saw it once, but that number 30 was there. He was talking about 30, and then there's 31, and then there was 28 was like the last thing. So that's interesting that the combination of 17, which is Gregorian, and 13, which is Hebrew, put them together, you get 30, and I was basically learning about that number today. So that's kind of interesting. That's it for today.